Our next story takes us into a different realm of the unexpected, something called intuition. And as you're about to see, when you pay close attention to your inner feelings and follow your hunches, it could mean the difference between life and death. Linda Parsons, Kathy Burke, and their supervisor, Joanne Fuhrman, had worked together as nurses at the Southern New Hampshire Medical Center for over 10 years. But they were more than just co-workers.
We're best friends. We've just worked very closely together and learned a lot about each other's families and supporting one another when there was an up or a down, whether it was family or work-related.
But on a cold winter morning, their friendship would face its most difficult test. Linda and Kathy had arrived for work at the same time that morning, which was slightly unusual.
I wasn't due in there till 9. I happened to meet up with Kathy in the parking lot. Now, she's generally due there for 8:30, but things were running a little bit late.
What was even more unusual was that Joanne hadn't arrived yet to unlock the urgent care unit.
Strange, Joanne should be here by now.
Well, she could have got caught in traffic or her car might not have started. At first, I was not alarmed. I thought maybe she stopped at the clinic where she supervised that facility as well. And that's probably where she got hung up. At about 10 after 9, I thought, I'll call the clinic, I'll see if she got hung up over there. And she hadn't stopped in there.
And I had said to Linda, I said, this isn't like Joanne not to call. She always calls if she's going to be late.
So then we tried her at home.
Hi, Joanne. This is Linda calling from work. We're just kind of wondering where you are.
And I thought, you know, if she woke up late, she would have called us before she hopped in the shower.
Bye.
At that point, I got concerned.
Anything yet?
Nothing. I tried her at home. I left a message on her answering machine. I called the clinic. They haven't seen Joanne either.
My first concern was that she got in an accident. The road she takes into work is notorious for accidents.
And so they decided to contact other hospital emergency rooms to see if a woman of Joanne's description had been admitted.
It's getting close to 9:30 in the morning at this point, and while I'm doing the phone calls, I had asked Kathy if she wanted me to bring the patients back, and she had said, no, you be on the phone and I'll take care of the patients.
Honey, have a seat. Take your jacket off, please.
As I was bringing back the patients and we still hadn't gotten hold of Joanne, I was becoming quite concerned. So the next step was to get a hold of her husband's place of work.
Brian's not at his work either. So now I have a husband and a wife who are responsible people, who are not where they should be, and no one has heard from them.
I think I'm going to have to call the Wilton police.
You do that, I'll try to.
Something is wrong. And I knew it at that point. Something was wrong. What ran through my head was a break-in. Maybe somebody broke in and killed them.
Mac Base 202.
Deputy Police Chief Jim Green was immediately dispatched to Joanne and Brian Fuhrman's home.
And Joanne Fuhrman, phone call from a co-worker, wants a welfare check.
10-5, I'll be en route.
943.
It was a fairly normal situation. When we do get calls like that, we will go and check a residence.
10-5.
There was 3 vehicles in the driveway. I couldn't tell whether anyone was home or not. The shades were drawn and everything appeared normal. I knocked several times on the door. I had no response. I did go around to the side entrance to the house. I knocked several times. Nothing looked amiss. I notified the dispatch center that I was clearing the residence. And at that time, I'm thinking that, you know, they could have gone off with friends. They could just be sleeping in, trying to get rest. After I left, the dispatch center advised me that Linda was on the phone again. And so he patched me through when I talked directly to her on the phone.
Now listen, this is not like Joanne or Brian
Neither one of them would just not show up. This is not like them. They're both
She
responsible
was
individuals.
very adamant that something was wrong. I tried to explain to her that everything appeared normal at the residence other than nobody answering the door.
Well, when he told me that he saw the cars, my heart sank, because I knew they were in there. I knew they weren't able to answer. You've got to get in there. You have got to get in there. They are there. Something is very wrong.
Well, we just don't break into someone's house because they don't show up for work.
I take full responsibility for whatever you have to do to get in there, but you need to get in there.
Okay, I will go back and check the residence again. I could tell there was concern in her voice. And so I turned around, I came back to the residence.
As Deputy Green arrived at the Fuhrman home for the second time that day, he too was beginning to believe that something might be terribly wrong. And yet he was still reluctant to enter the house.
Anytime we enter somebody's house uninvited, it's an awkward situation. I went around and knocked on the back door. Again, I received no answer. I tried the door and it was open. Hello? 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 It's the Wilton Police. Hello? Anyone home? I called out hello several times, identifying myself as the Wilton Police. And I listened. And I did hear a noise. Hello?
While Officer Green searched the Fuhrman home, Kathy anxiously waited for his report, fearing the worst.
My impression at that point was they did get in, and they found them dead, that they were dead.
A few minutes later, and Linda's prediction would have come true. The Fuhrmans were unconscious and near death from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Mr. Fuhrman! Mr. Fuhrman, it's the police! I got a moan from Mr. Fuhrman, but nothing that would indicate that he understood or comprehended anything I was saying. Hi, it's 202. I'm at the
Jim
Fuhrmans.
Green immediately requested emergency assistance from the fire department and paramedics.
The fire department come in with their sniffer, which determines the levels of carbon monoxide in the residence. And they said that they were extremely high.
Take some deep breaths, Joanne.
While paramedics administered oxygen to the two victims, the fire department searched the house and discovered that a break in the Fuhrman's furnace had produced such lethal levels of carbon monoxide that they were just minutes away from death. As soon as Deputy Green learned where the Fuhrmans were being taken, he contacted Linda and Kathy.
I jumped on that phone like you wouldn't believe. And it was Officer Green, and he said, and they're both en route right now to CMC Medical Center for suspected carbon monoxide poisoning. To Catholic Medical Center. And I started sobbing, could not stop.
We were so relieved.
If Linda had not made that second phone call and been as persistent as she was, this whole incident could have turned out very tragic.
In just a matter of days, Joanne Fuhrman was back at the urgent care unit with the co-workers and friends who had saved her life.
Oh my God! Oh, Joanne!
I really felt like they were guardian angels for us. There was a reason that they worked so hard to find out what was wrong and why I wasn't at work. I don't even know how to explain it. It's my life. I wouldn't have my life if it wasn't for them.
If it hadn't been the group effort of everybody. Brian's not at the cages either. The emergency room people trying to find Brian. The clinic with their numbers that they had for me. If it hadn't have been for Kathy being there to do my job for me while I was doing this.
I will go back and check the residence again.
If it hadn't been for Officer Green, who was willing to listen to somebody who can be annoying at times, if it wasn't everything lumped together, the end wouldn't have been the positive end result that we have.
Between the three of us, there is a very special bond that will never change. I don't think anybody can ever do anything bigger or greater than saving somebody's life. And I think that we'll always be really involved with each other.
I think that there was an angel somewhere telling me that we needed to get somebody in here to help them. So, yeah, I do. I think it was a miraculous thing. So much for my hair makeup job.
Joanne Fuhrman and her husband Brian were extremely lucky. Each year, hundreds of people lose their lives to accidental carbon monoxide poisoning. And one of the reasons that everyone was anxious to tell this story was to, hopefully, save other lives. Joanne and her two guardian angels join us now from Wilton, New Hampshire. Hello there. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Richard.
Hi, Richard.
This is a tough question, but what do you think changed this story from a possible tragedy to, well, a miracle?
I believe that the persistence, if you're feeling a strong feeling that something is not right, you got to follow that and just keep until you get what you're after.
Absolutely. If you have a feeling that you need to check on someone, no matter what the reason, go for it. You know, even if you look silly, it doesn't matter.
Well, I think you all proved that. Joanne, what lessons have you learned from this experience?
I've learned to really cherish each day as it comes and goes, to love everyone around you, to see the good in people, and to really know how important it is to get the word out that carbon monoxide detectors are very important in all the homes.
Which brings us to the reason we're here tonight. This is a carbon monoxide detector. It's very much like a smoke detector and equally important. But if you don't have gas heating, do you still need one of these?
Everyone needs to have them. It doesn't matter what kind of heat they have. Fireplaces, wood stoves, anybody has to have carbon monoxide detectors. And they only cost anywhere from $25 up, and they really need to put them in there because you never know when there'll be something plugged in your system that's going to make it back up.
Well, that's good sound advice, and I hope everyone listening takes it to heart. Anyway, thank you for joining us. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks,
Good night.
Richard.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Richard.